Very simply, we are outcome-focused delivery organization that builds products in the Salesforce ecosystem.
You can also get a force multiplier effect through these technologies because you can ask for less help. You might paradoxically need fewer juniors on your team because now I can give more complete instructions, and we can just have those tasks executed. So I think the psychological safety has to come from within.
They say like it's not AI that's gonna replace the jobs. It's really the people using AI who are being the force multiplier, and they are doing the same task much better, more efficiently, are gonna be replacing the jobs of the people who do not do that. Right? Hello, welcome back to Workforce Reimagined podcast, where we explore how the world of workforce is evolving, from AI automation to global teams and talent strategy. I'm your host, Nachiket Mehta. Today I'm joined by not just one, but two amazing leaders, Jay Keating and Nikolai Balba from Aquiva Labs. Jay is the current CEO, and Nikolai is the founder and ex CEO, and now the CTO of the company. I've had the pleasure of working with Jay before. Both esteemed guests have extensive leadership experience in building and scaling the global workforce. Welcome, Jay and Nikolai.
Great to see you again, Nashi. Thank you very much for having us.
To begin with, Jay, your journey spans tech, consulting, global operations, and now leading Aquiva Labs. What's been the common thread across all these roles?
Nachi, I would say no surprise, to how my early days of my career evolved. Keen focus on aligning people, process, and technology to make sure that we're all supporting the mission. That's evolved a little bit in recent years, not to diminish the importance of aligning people, process, and technology, but these days I think purpose becomes a bit more important, making sure that everybody understands the vision, the mission.
So, can you tell more about what Aquiva does, like from business perspective, and so for the audience?
Very simply, we are outcome-focused delivery organization that builds products in the Salesforce ecosystem. And what we mean by that is, Salesforce is a great CRM platform, the enabler of this, business agility, both for companies that use Salesforce in their daily life, but also companies that are building products on top of Salesforce. So what Aquiva does, we are a product development organization. We take ideas that our customers bring and we help them bring those ideas to life by building successful, scalable, results-oriented solutions on Salesforce.
Excellent. And so, can you talk more, Jay, maybe pointing to you, uh, which Salesforce clouds or industry solutions are your next big bets, and what customer signals really drive that?
The clouds, we're less specific about which clouds we'll support because that really kind of depends on the customer's use case, right? So whether it's going to be Service Cloud or I don't know, Net Zero Cloud, the customer's financial services cloud, the customer's use case is going to take them toward the features and capabilities that the cloud is going to serve them best. What we think about more and more these days is really about data. Where's the data going to reside? How structured is the data going to be? And that becomes relevant because of what we all know about actionable, intelligence-driven, access to data, AI. This becomes relevant. So we're thinking more about agents. We're thinking more about AI. We're thinking more about data than we are necessarily which specific cloud you have an affinity for.
Excellent. Okay, so you focus on the business problem, but currently most business problems goes back to how you are leveraging data, the context, and empowering a lot of AI-based or agentic first solutions for the end customers. Right? So, so I'm curious on because I think let me set it up. You have global teams. Your delivery teams are across many countries. Uh, I believe it spans across product to engineering to post delivery support, right? The two-faced question: what kind of work skills or the roles you have seen evolving in this change, right? Because a lot of vibe coding and the product first, the outcome first. In my mind, I think it requires more business understanding, more product understanding, and less of the engineering resources, but definitely more engineering experience that goes much wider instead of deeper, right? That's my experience, but I want to see you from the being practitioner delivering so many solutions. What kind of workforce and the roles, the job responsibility you see evolving? And then second, is it gonna be like, is AI gonna be augmenting the workforce, right? So do you see that growing, like your overall team size growing, or is it actually replacing the certain workforce? And if so, what they are, right? So it's a two-part question.
I think the we're seeing smaller, leaner, more expert level teams. We're seeing the role of product owner to elevate to that of a product manager, maybe. There is less requirement, less need for breaking down the user stories, but more need to actually understand what those user stories need to be and how they fit the requirements. The engineers, the product developers become engineers. Engineers become architects. The team can get done more and faster with a smaller size. So that changes kind of the composition of the team. But it also we are seeing a transition from being co-located in a physical space or co-located in the same city or region or country to more or less aligned across the capabilities of an individual. What's the better fit? And you don't have to necessarily prioritize co-location over the talent fit, wherever that talent may be. And since the team is smaller, more experienced, and more senior, they can actually communicate between each other and with the customer as if they were co-located. So it's an interesting shift where before collocation brought a lot of benefits because everybody was like talking to each other and communication cycle was faster and more immediate. With a smaller size team and more senior team, you can still maintain that fast communication cycle internally and with the client. You can have the immediacy. You can have the ad hoc conversations, async conversations. You have the tools for that. You have Slack, you have Google Meets and whatnot. So we are valuing the experience, valuing the seniority, we're valuing the fit for the job over the team size or the strict selection of roles or the collocation of the unit.
Jay, and what do you, in your experience, right? How is that changing in the kind of resources that you hire or place, right? And if I think kind of as a leader, my question kind of points towards how do you ensure the psychological safety of those junior resources, right? I read stats recently that like in the new entry, there's 16% less new hires are being hired because of Gen AI bots or code generations, those kind of solutions being implemented. So, what are your thoughts on that?
If I start with the psychological safety, to me that comes from within, right? So if we look at this moment in technology, depending upon which AI preference you might personally have, you have an opportunity to adopt what I'll call is a force multiplier. So if you happen to be a junior, all of a sudden you can have at the fingertips a lot of context. You can have a lot of, you can have some additional years of experience right there inside of a console that you can call upon as a coach, as a mentor, as somebody who can draft a straw man for you. You can punch above your weight class. If you happen to be a junior, if you happen to be an extremely senior principal architect, you can also get a force multiplier effect through these technologies because you can ask for less help. You might paradoxically need fewer juniors on your team because now I can give more complete instructions, and we can just have those tasks executed. So I think the psychological safety has to come from within.
As they say, like it's not AI that's gonna replace the jobs. It's really the people using AI who are uh, being the force multiplier, and they are doing the same task much better, more efficiently, are gonna be replacing the jobs of the people who do not do that, right? Right? Like Nikolai, you mentioned earlier, there's gonna be like instead of human in the loop, that potentially could be or vice versa. Instead of leveraging AI agents and then human using it, it's actually like how you embed that and be that human in the loop to multiply that. My question is how, what kind of skills will be changed in this, right? Like I feel like less and less requirements on the hard skills, more on the soft skills, like the culture, the leadership aspect, the integration aspect. What are your thoughts on that changing?
I think the main change is the change of ability to embrace the change. That's what's going to be more and more important. Uh, it's being ahead of the curve. It's being curious enough uh, to research, to study, to try out new ways of doing things. It's being risk resistant in the sense that you're taking a risk when you're trying something new, but being able to see ahead far enough to course correct when necessary. And that comes from experience. So, like I was saying earlier, I do think that teams have the premium is still on real world experience, but being open minded enough to have the adoption and to be willing to have AI kind of lead the way. In a way, it's almost like you're letting go of the constraints and you're letting go of some of the controls. So you're trusting the AI more, but then obviously with your experience, you are verifying, you are correcting, and you are building ahead, building up to the next iteration and the next iteration. Uh,
As we get into the final segment of the podcast, I want to make it more like a rapid fire round, right? So I have a couple of questions for both of you with quick answers, hopefully. Things that you inspire, things that you like for the audience so that they can take away a few things for them. So my first question will go the round robin. Jay, I'll start with you, and then Nikolai, and then I'll ask Nikolai and Jay. First, what books or frameworks or podcast or anything that you really enjoy doing the most to get up to speed with the latest technology innovations?
I'm gonna use an old school, non-modern example that I think is important for a lot of people. Every time I take a new role, I look back to the same book, reread it, and reconduct the same kind of a process. It's called the first 90 days. And it's all about leaders accelerating their ramp to value and compressing, the time in which it takes for you to be effective at your job and reach the point of economic break even. And so I would say that's relevant.
yeah, I tend to listen more than read. I like podcasts. I have a curated selection of podcasts I listen to all the time. I enjoy the Y Combinator episodes with real conversations, with real demos. I like the long form podcast, like Lex Friedman is one of my favorite to listen to. Uh, and then everything in between. I have um, a I've created a list on X on Twitter of some of the thought leaders that I like to keep up with. Like Naval, you might know that person. Like he's extremely smart and deep thinker. So yeah, I get inspired by technology leaders like that.
How are you both leveraging Gen AI, ChatGPT, etc., to learn new things, right? Or Perplexity for that matter, right? Like, how are you leveraging that to keep up to date with the technology and the news?
I like it. I like to use it as a bounce of ideas, and I usually like to use several. I have 2 or 3 tabs open with different AIs. My go-to would be ChatGPT and Grok, probably the two. Perplexity, I like because of all the URLs, the links that they give you. But now ChatGPT does that as well, and I would ask you to provide an alternative point of view than what I'm thinking of, and like try to bounce the ideas.
Yeah, I love the alternative point of view, Nikolai. I love you start with a topic that you don't know as well as you should. That's your entry point. You start to build out a straw man understanding of that topic, and then I like to pivot to, okay, now tell me why that's wrong. Argue with me. Help me. Either cement or reject my opinion one way or the other.
My next question is, what's one leadership lesson that you received in your life that really inspires the decisions that you make and that you would want to pass it on to the readers or the next generation? Jay, we'll start with you.
I would say the only thing you can't delegate is accountability, and I think that is as real in an agentic workforce as ever. At the end of the day, whoever's sitting in the chair still owns the outcome, and so whether we're delegating that responsibility to a human being or some sort of an AI, we still own the outcome, and so we need to stay very present, very engaged, very kinetic, very involved.
Yeah, for me, it's to always think about what really matters. The rest is noise. Don't sweat about don't sweat about the current process as much as about what would you do differently to get to that outcome if you did not have the constraints of the current process. And that focusing on this, what's going to be the day after tomorrow, is more important than focusing on what you're doing right now.
Great. This was excellent. Thank you so much. We are at time, but I enjoyed this conversation. Got a lot of good leadership nugget and a lot of technology and uh, the founders' best practices and principles. So I hope the audience really liked and enjoyed this. I certainly did. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.